So I'm Mark Gilreath, and I'm founder and CEO of EndoChoice, and we're based in Alpharetta, Georgia. We are a medical device company focused in gastrointestinal endoscopy. It's our specialty. And we are founded in 2008, working in the basement in 2008 with a few guys, and today we have about 125 employees.
The basement holds a very special place in Kaufman's heart because
Right.
Ewing Kaufman started his pharmaceutical company out of the basement. I guess the basement is the equivalent to the garage for the
That's right.
high-tech company.
That's
So
right.
how did it...
In hindsight, I would have done it in the garage, but it actually happened in the basement.
So how did it start?
I was sitting at a trade show booth at a prior company in my prior life and looked around and I saw 100 widget companies. And we just saw, this is business 101. When there's that much fragmentation, there's an opportunity. And it was just a passion to bring that industry together. And so we've created a platform company that just carries a very broad portfolio where previously they were really widget companies one by one.
So many people get to the edge, and then very few people actually take the plunge. So what was it that got you started?
Right. It was really just a compelling drive to make a difference. I think that earlier in life, sometimes you have that luxury to take more risk. And we were at a place where we were able to take that risk and dive in for a couple of years, knowing how hard it was going to be to climb that mountain. But I guess something deep down just said, you have to take the step.
Take me through the timeline there from that first startup to you back in the booth to you with the next startup.
One little startup was a side item. While I had a job as an independent rep, I had the luxury to do things on the side and started a little company. And it was more of a hobby than anything else, but it ended up turning into something worthwhile. It was a cart company for medical scopes. Fast forward, leaving business school, I went to business school at Duke, and everybody leaving business school has an idea to change the world and a business plan, and so I took that enthusiasm to start a company in 1999, and March of 2000 came and the dot-com bust happened, and it became a very expensive lesson, and so I got an MBA here, and then I felt like I got a PhD with the scars of life through that process. But that failure, I think, taught me a lot and led me to my last one prior to EndoChoice, where I was the first person in the U.S. To start with a PillCam video capsule. It was an Israeli technology. You swallow the video capsule, images the GI tract, and passes naturally. And so we built that company from scratch, and that turned out to be an 8-year venture, which was a wonderful success. And at that time, it was time to do something different, and there was a compelling drive. There are always unmet needs if we just keep our eyes open. And so the next one was to consolidate what appears to be a fragmented industry. What's interesting to bring that to closure is that first little cart company, those little carts existed from 20 years ago. My hobby became the foundation of EndoChoice. So when we started this company, we picked up that little, what was a hobby, became a foundation and allowed us to kick off EndoChoice with at least some small structure.
Did business school equip you to be an entrepreneur?
Not at all. In fact, I don't think there were very many within our class. It gave me some of the discipline, some of the insight to help the business scale, but it surely did not prepare us to start a business. The things that really strike me that aren't taught is how do you find A players? How do you make sure the talent you're bringing on board is the right talent for the task at hand? How do you maintain a culture? How do you create a culture, establish it, build, and let that strengthen over time? Never had a class on that. How do you find capital? And how do you find capital that is appropriate for this stage of company growth?
What is your experience with capital? Because early stage funding is a huge issue.
It would be helpful for entrepreneurs to understand first that companies go through different stages of growth and different capital needs. And there are typically different players at each of those stages. So whether it be, bootstrapping from the beginning or taking in angel funding maybe at the next stage to perhaps venture funding at some stage, and they like to graduate to maybe private equity folks who want to do a recap and take them out, an opportunity for an IPO at some time in the future perhaps, or if it's a lifestyle business and you can own it and keep it within the family and bootstrap and not take those those pathways, that's an opportunity as well. But they are each clear choices. There's a fork in the road in the dynamic of those choices. And I think that our personal experience has been venture funding, leading to an IPO in my last company, and today we're still venture funded.
There's a lot of exit strategy talk and about exits. I mean, does that enter into your thinking, and does it change the way you operate as a business?
In our board meetings, we don't talk about exit strategy. And there are 3 venture capitalists on the board who contribute in a meaningful way. But it's been our philosophy and our mandate to let's create a great company, and opportunities will present themselves.
How do you hold true to sort of not lose yourself in the midst of your success, if you will?
To a large degree, I think the customer is pulling us forward. So the demand in the marketplace is forcing us to grow big and to scale with the demand. I think it would be, in our space, very difficult to turn that down. And so it's really our challenge to step up and meet those needs, and then forcing us to scale at a pace which is not normal. Clearly that's a bumpy road at times, but I think it goes back to having the right people in place.
The culture that you have to seep through the organization, is that the difficult thing to keep up with, to keep pace with?
Sometimes it's unfair to take one of your most talented managers, lower level managers, and ask them to do something perhaps that's beyond their reach. And so that's always a dilemma that you face. Can they stretch and meet that? And if not, let's not set them up for failure. Let's let them continue to succeed, but be forced to go outside to find somebody that can take us the rest of the way.
How do you understand the market to the extent that you need to, and then have a product that matches?
For me, it just goes back to people. We blame things on products, we blame things on markets, but typically people with good insight can match those up. Having the talents in the team to match products, markets, opportunities is a bit of an art, and I think you need to create, or what we've tried to create, is some healthy tension with the organization. Challenge one another, push one another until we find that best fit.
How do you know when to give an idea up? I mean, because you're just geared toward, I'm going to make it through, I'm going to push it through, I'm going to be determined, and I'm going to stick with this idea in spite of the naysayers. But then there are bad ideas.
I think it's something that we all continue to wrestle with because we don't have a crystal ball. We're pretty quantitative, we're metrics driven, we do a lot of research. We're not just jumping out, because we love risk. We're actually trying to mitigate risk while we pursue an opportunity. But I think a lot of people in our lives play checkers. And the folks that are on stage explaining their stories of success are playing chess. Some people just have a gift to see 15 moves out and understand the risk along the way. And others play checkers, and they're just 2 different gifts.
When you look at your business, do you see what's there, or do you see what's missing?
I would say 95% of the time I see what's missing. And I try to remind myself to take a step back on occasion and see what's really there and try to celebrate that. We had a lady that was a temporary worker, and she's in the production area, and she was coming in and to go from temp to permanent employment. And so she came in to our COO's office, and she was so nervous she was getting called in. And he said, "Just relax, it's okay, have a seat." And he says, "I'd like to talk to you about joining the company." She says, "You're going to hire me?" She throws her arms around the guy, jumping up and down, running around the room. And then she tells him that, she's just so happy to be here. And she puts her head down and spends the next 5 minutes crying. I think we have this split role. One day it's metrics and management and meetings and focus and work really hard. And the other side is when this is done and we're retired and I'm sitting in the rocking chair, we're not going to be talking about any of that stuff. We have friends and this girl turning around and jumping up and down. The stuff that matters is not the product. The stuff that matters are the lives that we share and the friends that we develop. And I think giving jobs, you're giving that dignity and that reward. We don't talk about exits, we're talking about building a great company. We're not looking for, buying a sailboat, but we are very focused on the relationships we're building and celebrating that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very nice.